which is there was an interview.
I'm excited for this one. This is
I
great.
know, and sometimes we hear pundits talk and we go, okay. But I'm going to borrow something from Felger and Maz program, which is a Boston sports show, and they talk about Boboism, really, because they deal with Patriots fans and Celtics fans who everything's happy horse crap. Bill Belichick's a genius. If he loses a game, they find a way. Like, people will call in a show and they'll explain to you why, like, it was a strategic loss and, like, they meant to lose. That's Boboism, Aaron. And I'll give you an example, and I'm not coming at you, but I'm coming at you a little bit right now. Like, an example of Boboism, and we do it with Tottenham, would be like saying that Martial is a Ballon d'Or candidate. Like, that's a little bit Bobo.
Crazy.
Jokingly.
No, well, I mean,
Boboism.
But here's the thing. So there was one this week, and it just piqued my ears because I really love Marcus Rashford as a player. I've liked him ever since I was playing, I think it was like FIFA 2008, and like he showed up as like a tiny little rookie, like, and I was like, oh man, this guy's lanky and fast. So the quote is from Dwight York, who used to play in the league, was a center mid for Manchester United with some other teams, and in talking about Rashford and him being a great player, says absolutely, Rashford is certainly in the bracket of Mbappe. The likes of Messi and Ronaldo are probably on a different level, but Marcus is certainly one for the future in terms of being one of the best players in the world if he keeps working hard and developing his football. Really quickly, in the headline, it was more specifically one of the best number 9s in the world. And I just felt, first of all, that he doesn't play number 9 that much. Really? He's usually on the wing. So it was kind of interesting that suddenly this was said earlier this week and then suddenly it was a number 9 today. So I thought that was a little strange. Isaac, I know you probably have a more objective view from this. So Aaron, first to you, Rashford and Mbappe. Can I say those names together?
I think you can say them close together. I wouldn't agree that Rashford's in the same bracket as Mbappe. I think he's maybe one tier below. I think they have similar skill sets, and I also agree Rashford shouldn't be considered a number 9. I mean, it's pretty obvious over the past couple of years his best position is that left wing. But the argument I'd make for Rashford being considered in that same kind of relevant bracket is that Mbappe has a little bit more support around him in terms of the likes of Neymar, Icardi, Di Maria, these players that are experienced, consistent, and they're playing in the French league, which, no offense to Ligue 1, is a little bit easier to rack up your numbers in. I think that helps him to kind of look better at times, or look not better, I wouldn't say, because he's an amazing player, but lifts him maybe above that class of someone like Rashford, who's been in inconsistent team sheets, has played with players that are young, inexperienced, and haven't kind of made it at the top level yet, and has still done as well as he has, and has played a lot more games than Mbappe over the past couple of years too. Mbappe's had some major injuries as well. So I think that Rashford is a tier below Mbappe, but he's not far off, and I think if he does keep working at it, he could be in that same class.
So Isaac, Rashford is a victim of circumstance, and that's why he isn't one of the best players in the world. Do you agree, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think he could have and should have moved clubs earlier to be considered in the same bracket as Mbappe. But so Mbappe, watching what he did against Barcelona and what he's been able to show, season after season, even though he is in Ligue 1 in France, he is progressing at a pace at his age that we haven't really seen since a Messi or Ronaldo. Even though I agree with Dwight York, I wouldn't put Mbappe in that same league as those two. Whereas Rashford, he's young. He can be great. I think Dwight York, he saved himself a little bit in that quote by adding the "if he keeps working hard and developing his football," right? Because sure, if he just like busts his ass and keeps growing and growing and growing and maybe moves clubs, then certainly he can be one of the best in the world. But Mbappe is just like I agree with Aaron. They're close. Like the brackets are close, but Mbappe's kind of he's in a Holland bracket.
I just think
by
it's tough comparing the Premier League to other leagues in a way because I think it is so competitive. Like I think it is so competitive, and when you think about it, there haven't been too many like players considered like the best player in the world, Ballon d'Or winners in the Premier League. Like it's just not a league that you can dominate to the same level as a league, even a Serie A, La Liga. That's where these Ballon d'Or winners are typically found because they have that ability to really steamroll teams week in, week out. And then they're also able to rest a little bit more, and they're consistently in the Champions League, which is a stage that Rashford hasn't always had.
Call for Scott. I want Scott Hancock on this. And I want, because I actually, in reaction to the Martial Ballon d'Or, I did spend a day and did a bunch of Ballon d'Or research, and I totally agree with you. The data shows that the Premier League just does not tend to showcase players in a way that they can win an award like that, because it's not about individual performance as well. But that almost makes me, but that's confusing based on last week when we said that La Liga is all about tactics. Well, how can the French league, I don't understand how you can think about tactics more when you can have a player like Messi who can dribble through everyone, or Ronaldinho who can dribble through anyone in leagues like that, where you couldn't do that in the Premier League. So I think there's a lot of meat on this bone. It's a very interesting thing.
I think that's why Messi excels in La Liga, is because he has a way of reading the game that not a single English player has had in history of the world. And same with Ronaldo, same with some of the like Pirlo, the Italian greats. So I think the tactical awareness and understanding is what allows La Liga players and Spanish players like David Silva, he had a great run in the EPL, read the game and find space in a way that isn't found as much in Britain. But I wonder if like the Ballon d'Or, you don't commonly find those players in the EPL. I wonder if it is because of the coaching style, the pace of the game. It's just the competition top to bottom certainly is stronger. But maybe it's also just because the best players in the world, like they're too good to
I will tell you this. In the last 15 years, it's either been someone by the name of Cristiano Ronaldo or someone by the name of Lionel Messi.
Right.
So for the recent past, it's a little difficult.
And Ronaldo was, I think he got one at Man U. The other thing I would say as well is that it's just not a players' league. Like you think about the winter schedule, like the Christmas schedule or whatever holiday schedule. You don't see that in any other league. They get rest at that point in time, and there's more of a focus on players' well-being and spacing things out a little bit more. Same with like Europa League and Champions League scheduling with match days on weekends. That's been a long time pain point for clubs.
Let me come at you. Well, let me come at you for your manager for a second, because you were up 4-0 on Real Sociedad and you played all of your starters, and they were saying today, I think it was Lee Dixon was like, well, that's from his playing days, because that's what not Ferdinand, Rio Ferdinand, that's the back, Ferguson, something like that. The big coach that's really famous, who I don't care to remember his name,
Sir Alex.
Sir Alex. That's what he would always do, is play his best players. But Aaron, if you consider a match against Chelsea to be, I mean, I don't know, are you in a title race? I don't understand why against Real Sociedad you end up having a 0-0 draw and you played your bet. What are we doing?
So I actually think he did a good job of rotation to some extent. You did see a decent amount of rotation from that game to this Chelsea game, especially with so Matic started in midfield. Bruno played half the game. Rashford played half the game. He limited it to some extent. They also do have some injuries up front, which has caused some problems. I think it's more of a mindset thing that he didn't want us to start thinking of the Europa League as, I say us, he didn't want Man U to start thinking of the Europa League as kind of this side tournament that wasn't important, that we were just going to start kind of the backup players in.
Sure.
Even if it was just for this game, I think that mindset could carry on to the next round, which is what we've seen in past seasons. So I think it was just about keeping that momentum going, even though they didn't, and trying to make sure that we really kind of put that tie to bed, and we're in the right position for the next round.
So, Isaac, let me get this straight. You dominate a team in the first leg, and you believe that your team is so mentally weak that you have to play all your starters for the second leg so they know that this matters. That's a good outfit. That sounds like some Spurs stuff.
They did rotate, though. He didn't play all the starters.
Aaron,
right.
Aaron,
it sounds like there was some.
Turn on this one, Aaron. I'm sorry.
It was. So I will speak on Aaron's behalf. Is that yes? Apparently I didn't see it, but there was some squad rotation, so that's great. And players great players want to play. So if you run them out for 45 minutes, then I don't see the harm in that. And especially if you run out a full swap of your starting 11, then you never know what can happen, especially against a team like Sociedad, who is able to compete. I think we can give Ole a pass on this one.
And I think it showed early in that game, too, because Sociedad had a couple early chances. They had a penalty. And if they scored one or two of those, all of a sudden it's a different-looking game.
I will just say this. Yeah. From the 65th minute to the 85th minute, man, that Chelsea-Manchester United game was leggy for both teams. Yeah. And they,
And Ollie only made one change. That was very surprising to me.
All right.
Yeah,
people are going to literally email us and be like, can you please, you are still talking about Chelsea and Man U, and it is now Monday afternoon. So